right, and just in from Keith's Fantasy Club, it is SENCHO Barbossa, a.k.a. their Captain Shark, which was a Brave toy, not a Transformer. But I think he translates very well. He's a fun little toy. He's a neat little shark. He's got a little gun on the bottom of him. This little sword does not have to be there, but it's the easiest way to store it. But yeah, he's got an opening jaw, so he can chompa. I love the sharks. I like sharks too. Not as much as stegosauruses, but I do like sharks. And this is a nice shark. It's a nice solid toy. It's like I said, KFC is another one of those companies that I think keeps striving to improve a lot like Unique Toys. And Captain Shark is no exception. I'm really digging this. This may be one of the best pieces I've held from KFC Toys. It's a neat thing. And they've got some repaints planned to make him look like Skybite Haiku, I think is that name, as well as the Energon, Cybertron, Sharkticon, whichever line that was in. And they've shown some art that have him in kind of the pinkish and gray scheme of the original Sharkticon. So we'll see how that goes. But as it is, Captain Shark here is pretty darn awesome. And like I said, I'm not super familiar with his Brave origins, but really that doesn't matter because he's a cool shark. And there's even some neat little mechanical hose detailing in various places on the shark, which are neat. These little turrets up here turn. That's really cool. These little tiny guns spin and turn. They're really neat, aside from the chompy jaws. These can rotate a little bit. Yeah, these can actually come out. They're plugged in, but it's got a little hook and a harpoon over here, and then this gun under here. It took me a while to figure out how to attach this gun, and I'll show you how that works when we transform it. The tail has a little bit of wiggle in it, so you can kind of give them a little bit of a... But it's not intended to move too much. Now, one of the nice bonuses that also comes in the package with him is you get this two-part stand. And you just plug this in like that. Actually, I did that backwards. Plug it in so that this little divot is in the front here. I guess you can do it either way. This is how I do it. But then this little peg right here, if you slide this over rotate this over to the side, there's a little peg hole up in here, right up in here, that this fits into. And you just take this and slide it up into here. Yeah, come here. There we go. And you can display him as a shark swimming on a display stand. And like I said, if you don't like, there's a little bit more clearance on this with this. If you have the sword off, it just pegs into the back of the gun. It gives you a little bit more clearance here, and the sword can just peg in right down here in one of these posts to display him. If you don't want to display him with the sword attached, and same with the gun, you can use the gun's divot down here if you just want to display him in full shark mode with no giant cannon on the bottom of him. But it's a nice little display stand, and it's cool that it's included because a lot of places don't. And for a figure that, you know, in robot mode, obviously he can stand on his own, but in shark mode, he's again, if you take everything off the bottom of him, he sits okay in shark mode. But this is a much more dynamic display for him in shark mode, and it's functional with robot mode too, which you'll see in a minute. But kudos for the extra value there by including this stand with the figure. I think it's really cool. Get him off of there. And it doesn't fit in the other way because of clearance issues. Now, one thing of note before you start really getting into this guy, his points are very sharp, especially like here on the tail, the fins, and they come very sharp. They might wear a little bit. That might actually be to your benefit because, like, I don't know if you can see, but like right here on my hand, it's healed up a little bit, but it's still a little sore because I had his tail in my hand. I was holding his tail, trying to pull this apart, and when it came off, it popped up, and the tail literally was. I was holding my hand like this, and the tail was hanging from my hand. It had impaled me a little bit. One of these tips right here had gone up into the skin. That was my fault. I should not have been holding something like that in my hand while also trying to pull something out. But do be careful. He's got some sharp points that could seriously hurt. Well, it's probably not seriously. You're probably not going to like gash an artery or anything with this piece. But like you said, it hurt a little bit. I stabbed myself, so be careful. So to start off his transformation, we'll go right to how his gun attaches. It took me a little while to figure it out because he's got this little post on his back. But it actually is a bar that spans in between these two arm pieces here. Get it out. So you can see this piece right here. It comes packaged with it going this way, and it actually plugs. You actually rotate it sideways and plug it into holes on each side of these forearms when you close them up. But yeah, it comes packaged like that. So you rotate it like this, and then clamp the arms around it like that. And then so we'll go ahead and flip this up, and then flip it up like that. And you can hold it as a cannon, or you can use this to plug it into a shoulder. We'll show you that when it gets to robot mode. But for right now, I'll just set this off to the side. Onto the body itself, you can see we've already got his arms coming out here. Just rotate these out like this. Bring the arms down. Rotate them forward. Same over here. Usually right now is when I go ahead and rotate these little cannons forward. You can do it whenever. You don't have to do it at all. But they will be shooting him in the head if you don't. I come back here, bring the leg part down. I like to go ahead here and split the tail, which brings this piece out, and we'll go ahead and set that off to the side for now as well. Bring these out to the side. This whole piece right here comes down. Flip the legs out like this. The thrusters kind of come around to the front of the knee and kind of form his kneecaps. Again, be careful because you're kind of bringing a couple of sharp pieces together. So you try not to, and like these on the thruster aren't quite as sharp, but if you get your thumb or finger caught between these two pieces, you're probably going to poke yourself. Let's hold down this whole assembly, including the shark fin, comes down. See, it rotates down, and you want to keep folding this all the way back, and then pushing forward because this is going to lock. Once you get this to a certain point, this is going to stand up straight, and then this is going to come down. You can see the curved bit right here goes under the hinge of his jaw, and it actually latches into place there. And bring his legs all the way down. Now, these are folded up. They don't affect transformation when they're the right way. A lot of people are saying these are assembled upside down, and they're kind of not, because they come upside down, but they actually flip around like this during transformation. So if you get them like this, and oh wait a minute, his heel's upside down, you don't have to undo it. The way it's designed, you can just flip it right over. And same with the front toes. So if you think they're upside down, just flip them during transformation. I thought maybe it was an intended step, but as it turns out, like they fit just fine the other way. So either way, it's not hard to get them in the proper position. Just if they're upside down, you just can flip them around that ball joint. They're open on both sides. Flip his toes out like that. And up here on top, pop open this hinge and flip his head up. Sometimes it helps, I find, to like actually get up, pull this up, and get under here and push the head up a little bit, and then reclose this up, or do it before earlier if you can't get it up with your thumbnail. Bring his head up, lift it up, bring this down, flip it back down. I'm not sure how much of that was on camera. So just to be safe. Bring this up, his head's flipped down in. If you need to, come in here, push it up. Flip it up. There you go. Bring it back down. Just in case I missed it the first time. And then, so there you got his arms and everything. Now somebody was talking about clearance. I think Evangelist Chris was talking about some clearance issues on some pieces. I haven't noticed that. I haven't had any pieces that I felt were notoriously hard to clear. I mean, I guess the arms right here a little bit. Lifting them up, there's a little bit of a clearance right there, but it's not anywhere that's going to affect anything visually, so I'm not super concerned about it. And then these pieces on the back, I bring them down like this and fold them forward like this, and there's a little, you can see this little tab here is going to tab in to the side of this, just like that. And then you can kind of rotate these back to give his waist a little clearance. And there he is in robot mode. Now, this weapon, it looks like on Haiku, this is actually used as a hand weapon. You can give it to him as such, as kind of a cannon there. And it does have some movement. This, oh, I guess that's not supposed to move like that. But, so yeah, so it's a hand cannon. with some shark fins. For Captain Barbossa, or Sencho Barbossa, there's a hole back here on his back that you can just store this. Since, one, I kind of like it. It matches the fin back here, as well as the fact that, like, that's not his signature weapon. Now, you mentioned earlier, this piece, you can flip this up like this, and you can have him hold this cannon in his hand if you want, as a handgun. It's designed to come back here, flip this up, and there's a port on the back of either one of his shoulders you can use on either side. And you just plug that in like that. That gives him a shoulder cannon. And then, of course, the sword from earlier that came out the back, you flip this up, and then he's got his little pirate saber. Knocking him around. And there is Sencho Barbossa in robot mode. And I really like this. Like I said, Captain Shark was always kind of a... I always wanted to pick one of the old classic Brave ones once I heard about him, and just never did. So it's nice to have a modern rendition of him, because I really dig just the idea. I like the shark head, abdomen, chest area. I love his shark mode. I love the piratey motif. There's a lot of things I like about him. And I think it's a nice, solid figure. It really is a lot of fun. It's got some good heft to it. None of the joints are like particularly loose. Everything fits together and is solid. Plastic is nice and good. I'm really happy with this. It's a really nice figure. And a lot of fun overall. Just a quick size comparison. Let me dig out my go-to guy that I've had with me. Here he is with Evasion mode op. So you can see he's a large Voyager size. At least according to modern Voyager standards. But he's a good-sized robot. He's not tiny. He's not like a deluxe-sized figure, which is what I was worried about, I guess, when I first saw pictures of him, even though I didn't know I was worried about that at the time. So he's a nice figure. He's got a ball-jointed neck, so he's got a lot of good posability there. He's got these little ball-jointed turrets on his shoulders that can point wherever you want. Even the ball joint here in the gun lets this point wherever you wish it to. He's got these kind of weapons. You can rotate the hook there to give him his hook hand and a little harpoon hand over here. The harpoon seems glued in, or at least more secure than the hook does. He's got ball-jointed wrists in a couple places. There's a ball joint back here as well as up here on the actual fist. So you got a lot of good range of movement here at the wrist. He's got double hinged elbows. He's got a bicep swivel. He's got universal shoulders in and out. He does have a waist swivel, although again you kind of need to. If you have the fin attached, it's a little harder to move it. But he does have a waist swivel here. These pauldron or these waist hip armors move out. Ball jointed hips. He's got a hip swivel, double jointed knees, and then his feet are on ball joints both in the front and back. So you've got some decent ankle tilt and some good stability there in a lot of the poses you're going to want to hold them in. So yeah, all in all, it's a really nice, solid figure. I like the design elements a lot. It's a really neat homage to the Brave series. So even if you're a Transformers fan and never really got into that, you're going to find a lot of things to like here. Whether you consider him a Transformer, a transforming robot, a Brave, if you want to call him an updated GoBot, however you want to look at him, he's a fun... He's not an updated GoBot. He's an updated Brave figure. But anyway, you know what I'm saying. He's a fun figure. He'll find a place somewhere in your collection because he's neat and he's fun. And I've said that several times now. But I like him. I don't know. I can't keep going on about it. But I'm really, really impressed and I'm really happy with him because he hits a lot of really great notes that some of them I didn't even realize I was aching for in a Transformer. But yeah, his colors are nice. His red is nice. His blue is nice. The gold detailing. There's a lot of really nice things about this figure that, like I can't think of many flaws. He's very pointy. That's probably my biggest flaw is that he actually physically drew blood from me. But other than that, he's got some really nice design elements. I definitely recommend him, or any of the repaints if you're into some of those other characters. But I do recommend picking up some version of this mold at some point because it really is pretty fantastic. There it is, Captain Shark. Oh, I didn't show off the stand here. The stand, you use the smaller point right here, and it plugs into, again, just his waist. You may need to move the shark piece. You may need to unplug this shark piece, tail piece, before you plug him in, just to give him some clearance, or move it off to the side. But just lower it down, just plug that right in there, and you can use the stand in robot mode as well. And again, if you don't want him to have a sword, you can store any of his weapons, the shark tail, the sword, when he's on the stand. But just a nice little display stand in case you're worried about like he's got a shelf that's a little wobbly and you don't trust him to stand on his own, you can put him on a display stand, and that will certainly keep him upright. So yeah, there it is. KFC's SENCHO BARBOSSA. It's misspelled on the box. It should be BARBOSSA instead of one S on the box. Just a misprint, and it was too late to fix it, apparently, when those came. So not a big deal. But SENCHO BARBOSSA from Keith's Fantasy Club. This mold definitely gets a recommendation, even if you don't buy it in this particular configuration.